Yep. She's growing, she's getting bigger. What's up guys, welcome back to our channel. Today I just wanted to do a little pregnancy update video. Originally I had thought about doing these more frequently, like maybe after each trimester, just kind of doing a recap and talking about my symptoms and just give a little update, but clearly that has not happened. I am currently 31 weeks pregnant. This has been my hardest pregnancy so far, and also with just having 2 toddlers, it's just been, life has been really busy and crazy. I can't believe I'm already 31 weeks pregnant. Baby girl's gonna be here soon. So I wanted to start out with just kind of like a general update on my pregnancy thus far, and then I'll talk more about the symptoms and the things that I've been having recently right now in the 3rd trimester. So the morning sickness with this pregnancy has been very severe. The worst I've ever had it. I always get really sick, I always get it really bad. But with this pregnancy, it was so bad where I did have to get IV therapy from weeks 8 to 13 just because I could not keep anything down and I was getting really dehydrated. But then after 13 weeks, it got a little bit better, but I was still just not able to keep anything down really. I was throwing up multiple times a day. And I would say starting at week 20 is when it started to get just progressively better, just a little bit. And then I would say after like 24 weeks, it was getting a lot better where I wasn't throwing everything up. I was able to keep some things down. After that, here and there, I still get waves of nausea or times where I just have a decreased appetite. There have been a few times, a handful of times where I've still thrown up since then, but it's not like how it was before where it is constantly multiple times a day, every day. And so I'm very, very grateful that it's a lot better now. But then it is just harder because I do get decreased appetite a lot of times. And so it's harder with a decreased appetite because sometimes I just don't feel like eating or nothing sounds good. I've been making sure that I still eat enough, that I am still getting food and nutrients for my body and for my baby. What's weird is with both of my pregnancies with my boys is I would always be really, really hungry. It was really weird because I'd be really nauseous, but then I'd also be really hungry. So I'd want to eat or I'd find something to eat. With this pregnancy, that hasn't really happened very often. Sometimes I do get really hungry, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as much as it was with the boys. So I need to constantly like remind myself like, oh, I should be eating some more. So that's just something that's been a little bit different with this pregnancy. Now with baby movement, so I started feeling baby girl move at around 16 weeks. I had little flutters, but then it got a lot stronger like 17 and 18 weeks. And what was actually really cool is that Jared actually felt her move at 20 weeks. And that's the earliest that he's ever felt a baby move. And so we were really surprised that he felt her move that early. But ever since then, she's been getting even stronger. She's very active. I feel her move all the time. I think that's my favorite thing ever of pregnancy, is just feeling the baby move. I love that I get to feel her move. I'm feeling her move throughout the day. And especially at night, she's very, very active, which sometimes makes it hard when I'm trying to sleep, but I love it so much. So I'm just trying to enjoy all of the little baby movements that I get. Now, we did mention this in a previous video, but then something that was just a little bit scary was that I started having consistent contractions from about weeks 19 to 23. And so on those weeks, I was pretty much on bed rest because anytime that I would get up or start doing something, I would start having contractions. And so we were really worried because that was around the time that I went into labor with my first pregnancy with Evelyn. And so I was just really, really worried. We weren't at viability yet, so we were just praying that I wouldn't go into labor. It was pretty stressful. But luckily the contractions stopped. I guess I had some kind of infection. We checked and I had a UTI, and then later I also had a yeast infection. I don't know if it was a combination of both of them or just the UTI or just one of them, but it seemed to just really irritate my uterus. The doctors have told me I probably also have just a more irritable uterus or a more contracty uterus. And so that's why the contractions just stayed and they just lingered. But the good thing is my cervix didn't shorten, or I didn't dilate or anything. I didn't go into labor, so the contractions didn't cause me to go into preterm labor. So we are so grateful for that. And then luckily after 23 weeks, the contractions pretty much just went away. I would just have Braxton Hicks, but I felt like it was just a normal amount. And so after that, for a few weeks, I felt really good. I felt a lot more at ease, just because I wasn't having those contractions and I felt like things were going really good. Now, when I was 27 weeks pregnant, I got influenza A, and it has been a really long time since I've gotten the flu. And I even got my flu shot this year. I got it a few months ago. And so it was really weird that I got the flu, but it was awful. I've also heard that it's been really bad this year, but luckily no one else in my family got it. But I was just so sick. I felt awful. One of the first days that I had it, I was just fevering a lot, and my fever was to 103, almost 104 degrees. And then there was one point when I was just laying down trying to rest, and I was fevering, and then my heart was just racing. And my heart rate was like at 140, even though I was just laying down. And so I felt awful, but Jared was great. He got me some medicine that was safe for me to take while pregnant. We also called the nurse that was on call at my OB's office, because of course this happened on a Saturday. Of course, anything always happens like when the office is closed, like when it's a weekend or a holiday. But the on-call nurse answered and she talked to us, and she was great. She gave us some tips to help get my fever down. We almost had to go to labor and delivery if my fever stayed the same, but luckily we were able to get it to go down. And then the medicine helped, and I just felt really sick and really awful for about 5 days. I wasn't sleeping good. I was waking up multiple times at night. I was stuffy. My throat really hurt. It was just really uncomfortable and awful. But luckily, baby was doing good. I'm so grateful that baby was still moving, so I could feel baby move. And we also had a fetal Doppler, so I was able to check, and baby's heart rate was really good too. That just took a lot out of me, because I don't know, I'm sure it was also because I'm pregnant and my immune system is lower now, and so that just really affected me. I'm so grateful no one else in the family got it, but that sucked. And so I'm so grateful for health. But yeah, I've never gotten that sick with like a sickness in any of my other pregnancies, so that was just something that was really hard. So I was very sick for about 5 days, and then it took me about like 2 weeks to feel like myself, where I just felt like extra tired. Yeah, just not quite fully recovered. So that lingered on for about 2 weeks. And then on Christmas Day, we also shared a little bit about this in our Christmas vlog, but on Christmas I was around 29.5 weeks pregnant, and for some reason I had this really sharp pain on my right side, and it lasted for about an hour, and I've never had this pain before. Since then, I have had it a couple times, but not nearly as long or as strong. But this was just really weird, and it was concerning because my eyes teared up. I felt like crying because it hurt so bad, and I've never had that happen before. And then after that, I started having consistent contractions. For a few hours, I had them about 7 minutes apart. So we went to labor and delivery. We checked on the baby. They even checked my cervix, and I wasn't dilated at all. I was still closed. And then contractions started to spread out more. And so we're so grateful. I don't know what happened. I don't know what caused that. But ever since then, I have had a few weird symptoms, or I have felt just a little bit off, where I've been having headaches since then. Sometimes I just feel a little bit lightheaded, or I just feel a little bit more weak. I'm just a little bit worried. In my mind, I'm still just worried about like the partial placental abruption, because at the beginning of this pregnancy, when I talked to the specialist at maternal fetal medicine, she asked if I had any symptoms of like high blood pressure or any problems with that prior to having the placental abruption. And I told her that I didn't with Kenai. So it makes me worried where like if I have some symptoms, I'm like, oh, this could be something because of high blood pressure. It just makes me worried that it could be a sign of a placental abruption. But I haven't had any bleeding, but I also didn't have any bleeding with Kenai too. So it's just hard because with Kenai, we don't know when the placental abruption happened. We don't know if it was when I was in labor or sometime before. We just don't know. So I don't know a lot about that, but I'm just worried just because, I don't know, that's kind of on my radar. I just want to make sure everything is okay with baby. I just want to make sure that we have a healthy baby. And so I've just kind of been keeping an eye on that, but luckily I haven't been spotting or bleeding. I'm still feeling baby move. We bought a blood pressure cuff and we've been checking, and my blood pressure is still good. And so we're just kind of keeping an eye on that. I have been reaching out to my OB, and they checked like my iron levels and everything. So we're just gonna monitor things, and I'm just gonna keep a really close eye out. And then if anything seems concerning at all, of course I'm gonna go to my OB. Another weird thing that has happened ever since Christmas was I would have these little episodes where my heart just starts beating really fast. I would have these occasionally starting at like 24 weeks. I noticed that one time I was just lying down. I did notice that I had some acid reflux, so I don't know if that played a role in that. But then I noticed that my heart rate was like 110 to 120 when I was just laying down. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. That's really high, especially if I'm just resting. So I talked to my OB about it, and he was a little concerned, but not super concerned. He said, especially since it was just happening like very infrequently, he said that they don't like the heart rate to be that high when you're resting, but he said to just kind of keep an eye on it. He did tell me that if it got like over 140 and it wouldn't go down, you know, to go to the hospital. But luckily I haven't had that. And that was pretty much like all that we talked about. We said we would keep an eye on it. But then after what happened on Christmas, so the last few weeks, I have been having them a lot more frequently. And it's just weird things where I notice, like if I'm sitting down, sometimes my heart will race, or sometimes I'm doing just simple tasks like I'm changing my boy's diaper or I'm washing dishes. And then I just feel my heart start racing. And so then I check my watch and I take my pulse, and then I see that my heart rate is like 140 or 130 to 140. And so that's been happening a lot more. I went to my OB office and talked to the nurse about it. And so they recommended that I just kind of take things slower. I never had this when I was pregnant with Isaac or with Evelyn, but with Kenai, I did start having a few of these like little heart episodes where I still felt like my heart was just racing or kind of like fluttering a couple weeks before he was born. It was like 2 or 3 weeks before he was born where I just kind of felt really off or kind of weird. And so this reminded me of that. So I don't really know what's going on, but the good thing is nothing abnormal seems to be going on right now. We're just still keeping an eye on it. I'm still talking to my OB and the nurse about it. And you know, we're just keeping a close eye just to make sure everything's okay with me and the baby. So now I am 31 and a half weeks pregnant. And the symptoms that I have going on right now is I am having a lot of acid reflux and heartburn, especially at night. So I need to make sure that I'm not eating too much for dinner, that I'm not eating a lot after dinner, because or else I'll have really bad acid reflux. I am having a lot more back pain. The last few days I've had really strong back pain, the worst back pain that I've ever had. And so I've been trying to do like some yoga and stretches to help with that. I'm making sure I'm wearing my belly band. I'm making sure that if I bend down that I have just like proper form, just so that I don't hurt it or irritate it very much. But you know, that's just what happens with pregnancy. And then I also have been having headaches the last few weeks. They're not super awful, but I mean, headaches are never fun. I don't like them, but I'm able to manage it with Tylenol. Occasionally I'll drink some caffeine to help. And then I know they always say like headaches, especially in the 3rd trimester, it could be a sign for preeclampsia. But then again, I am checking my blood pressure and my blood pressure has been normal. So I'm not very worried about that. I'm just having headaches. And then another thing is I'm constantly having to go to the bathroom, especially at night. And so because of that, I'm also having a hard time sleeping. It's hard to get comfortable and then to stay asleep. I have to sleep with a pillow in between my legs to also help with like the back pain and help me get comfortable. I am also having Braxton Hicks contractions. I feel like I am kind of getting them more frequently, but the good thing is they're not as consistent as it was on Christmas Day. And so I'm just keeping an eye on that. And then I notice if I'm kind of having more, I try to take it easy. I'm very aware of that and very aware of what's going on with my body. But luckily the contractions haven't been super strong or super consistent. And then I don't know if this is like a symptom, but I have definitely been nesting, or I felt the urge to nest. I felt it like 2 weeks ago. It started being really strong. It's exciting that we're finally like coming towards the end of the pregnancy. We don't know how long my pregnancy will last, or we don't know when baby girl will come. And so I just want to be prepared and be able to do some things now before I get even bigger and have less energy or get even more tired. Yeah, we don't know when baby will come. Kenai came at 36 weeks. Isaac came at 37 weeks. And so Jared has told me like, is this gonna be a pattern? Like, is she gonna come at 35 weeks? And I'm really hoping not. Obviously, whatever happens, we just want the outcome of having a healthy baby. So whenever is best for her to come, we will accept that. But I am hoping that she stays in until at least 36 weeks. I would love it if she could stay in until 37 weeks. And so we'll just see how long she stays in. And so it's also just a little bit exciting, and I would say it gives me a little bit of anxiety just saying like, oh, we don't know when the baby could come, because it could be really soon, or it could be that we still have some time. So I just want to make sure that we start to get our home prepared and start getting things ready. But I'm just so excited to meet her, but I'm okay to wait just a little bit longer. We are also going to have a growth scan in 2 days And so I'm so excited. I'm really excited to see how baby girl is measuring.
Later.
We are currently on our way over to our growth scan. I'm actually really excited for this ultrasound. We just want to see how baby is measuring right now. Make sure she's just kind of measuring like right on track where she should be for growth. I always think it's always fun to have ultrasounds late, like in the 3rd trimester, because baby's a lot more developed. So I'm hoping that we can get a better look at her features and like her face to kind of see what she looks like. But I'm also excited and interested to see how big she's measuring right now. They wanted to do this because Kenai was pretty small when he was born, whereas Isaac was just really big. And so my guess is I'm thinking she's gonna be around like 4 pounds. That's what my guess is. What about you?
3 pounds, 12 ounces.
All right. So I'm just hoping that everything looks good, that baby is healthy, and I'm just excited to see her again.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire.
Well, we had our growth scan and it was really good. We actually also got some 3D pictures, which I've never had a 3D ultrasound for any of my pregnancies. So that was really cool and really exciting to see. Her hand was up by her face and the technician tried to get her hand to move, but she just kept it there. But we still got a really cute picture. Baby's measuring really good. She's still measuring long, so she's gonna be long is what we're guessing. That's how she was measuring at her anatomy scan. And yeah, they estimate that she's around 4 pounds, 4 ounces right now, which is great. So we're hoping that we can just keep her in for a few more weeks, get her growing bigger, and yeah, everything looks good. So we're so excited. What do you think?
I think that she's going to belong with her siblings.
Yeah, it's so cute. Her profile, at first we thought she looked a lot like Kenai, and then after seeing the 3D ultrasound we're like, oh wait, she looks more like Isaac. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see her in person and like see what features she has similar with her brothers.